Greetings, Tumela, Salvona, Sakpase, Namaste, Afshin, Dubro Otra, Assalamu alaikum, Hotep, Buenas noches, bonsoir, what's going on? This is the Doria Laria Show. Welcome to season 2, episode 33. Episode 33. I'm sure there's like some numeral connection or numeric connection there. Am welcoming you to this episode of the Doria Laria Show with this one statement. No, I did not bark like a dog. Let that be the lesson to you. The conversation that we're going to have tonight actually has to do with hypnosis, which is why I was talking about barking like a dog, because some people think that when you are within a hypnotic state that, you make these animal sounds, but no, I did not. So tonight we're actually going to be speaking to a certified medical hypnotherapist, a transpersonal hypnotherapy trainer who works with people in the areas of health, fitness, and performance solutions. So keep the title in your head: Awakening, Healing, and Transformation. We're going to be speaking to a trainer of Neuro-Linguistic healing and transpersonal hypnosis. Ajamu Ayinde began his private practice in 1995. He holds 7 certifications in sports and performance hypnosis. His MA is in Motivational Psychology and focuses on the mental training of Olympians. There's a whole lot that you will get to know over the next few moments, and if you read his bio in the attached video. But what I really want you to keep in mind is he works with people in so many areas, including insomnia to impotence, as well as medical specialties from oncology to obstetrics. And now currently he works with clients with autoimmune illnesses, for example, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, ankylosing spondylitis. I know I said that right. Let's chat with Ajamu and hear how hypnosis can be used to address your pain. Let's welcome Ajamu.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
Greetings. I'm so excited to have you here. I'm very excited to have you here. So I want to chat with you, first of all, to say welcome to the Doria Laria Show. This conversation has been a long time in its transaction. And so I'm glad to finally have you here. I am thrilled to be able to bring you to this platform in order to share the amazing work that you do, how you influence people's lives, how you impact people's lives, and how you inspire them to live their lives just a little bit better than they did yesterday. So let's get right into it. Your title is... Tell us what your title is, and then how in the world do you do what you do? Where in the world did you get this idea from?
Okay. Well, I'm a medical hypnotherapist, a certified medical hypnotherapist. I'm a master mental coach, and I'm a transpersonal hypnosis trainer. So those are my titles.
Okay. Wow. And I'm sure I can't even say that again, but you did.
Yes.
So tell us when you got started and about the training that you went through, so then we can sort of figure out like what's happening now and how this is really impacting people's lives.
Okay. Well, I got my start in 1995. I've been helping people change their minds and keep the change for 27 years. And I didn't know that this was a profession that one could have, but I've been involved with hypnosis my entire life. My mom and dad found a book on hypnosis written by an obstetrician in 1968. And I've been fortunate enough to have a really open-minded mom who was willing to practice the techniques and tools of self-hypnosis. And she said she was able to give birth to me without so much as an aspirin. So I'm very familiar with hypnosis from a personal standpoint, because my mom used to use hypnosis on my sister and I when we were growing up.
Oh, okay. So of course I had to keep my eyes open when you said childbirth without an aspirin, and some of us here have been like literally put under. Some people have gotten, the thing in the spine. Some of us had like hours of, lots of discomfort. So to hear
Intense feelings for sure.
intense feelings. So yeah, that's a big thing. That's a big thing. Okay, so mom and dad used hypnosis to sort of move you from one plane of living to another plane of living. And then
Yeah.
as you were growing up, and then how did you get into it later in life and then decide to become certified in it?
Well, I've always had an interest in holistic health. And so I used to go to holistic health seminars and to go to workshops and vend. And I saw people who were practicing hypnotherapists, and I was very interested. I going back to the 80s when I was a very young man, 12, 13, I started buying self-hypnosis tapes through the mail, and I would listen to them, and it would help me to focus and motivate myself. And I practiced martial arts, and that was part of my meditation and self-hypnosis journey as well. So learning that the ancient samurai used hypnosis, they actually had a word for it, Simon Jitsu. So they had their own separate art uh, under the umbrella of becoming a samurai, learning how to do hypnosis on yourself to make yourself a more powerful warrior.
Okay, wait, I have a question. So does okay, so then are there hypnotherapeutic affirmations, let's call them for my own brain, that when you said martial arts, because I'm always thinking of the people who are sitting there like breaking the boards or who are like in these
Yes,
serious fights. So it makes sense that they would sort of say, okay, look, let me look through the board.
exactly.
So I've
Exactly.
heard that in like the movies, right? Let me look through the board. You look
Yes.
through the board. And then they do that. Okay. So now how is this different from what in this day and age people are calling like saying your affirmations or, you know, like using meditation moments? Like, how is hypnosis different from what somebody could sort of like pick up from a book? Because you said that you actually bought tapes for yourself in order
Mhm.
to encourage yourself. So as soon as I heard that, I thought of people like Les Brown, right?
Yes.
And like listening to Les Brown. And for those of you who listened to Les Brown back in the 80s, you know, signified by saying I, some people still got Les Brown taste. Les Brown is still actually doing the thing, right?
He
So,
is.
but again, how is that different from just like listening to an affirmation tape?
Well, it's very similar, in fact. And I do my best to demystify hypnosis so that it's more akin to something that you already know and already do.
Hmm.
So, affirmations are part of positive self talk, speaking to yourself in a more affirmative manner. And
Hmm.
that's part of hypnosis. Being able to visualize yourself in a certain way of acting or a certain way of thinking is part of hypnosis. And conscious relaxation is an essential element and part of hypnosis. So when we think in terms of a motivational speaker, more often than not, they're not leading someone into a state of conscious relaxation. They're more speaking in terms of the affirmation side of things. They're speaking more in terms of perhaps visualization, but often not, but meditation. So if you were to combine a powerful motivational speaker and you were to combine someone who does yoga or meditation, you would begin to approach what we do in hypnotherapy. It's an amalgamation of several different mental skills. So when I completed my master's in sports performance, sports psychology, what we learned was how these six mental skills all interrelate to one another. So we talked about conscious relaxation, we talked about visualization, we talked about positive self-talk, but what we haven't talked about is goal setting, motivation, and the ability to focus. So these are all the requisite skills, the mental skills that high level athletes, Olympians, professional athletes have. And these are things that we teach anyone who is looking to do hypnotherapy for a therapeutic purpose. So anytime you consider doing hypnosis, you must have a goal to begin with. And then you have a certain amount of motivation on a 0 to 10 scale. Maybe your motivation level is a 4 or 5. It's at least that if you're going to plunk down your hard earned money and consider hypnotherapy as a modality for yourself. So the object of the hypnotherapy is to fan the flames of that motivation and get that motivation level higher and higher and higher, so that now you can focus on what it is that you have as your outcome, what it is you have as your goal for yourself. And then we use the first three skills: conscious relaxation, visualization, and positive self-talk, in order to make those aspirations, goals, dreams a reality. I can't hear you now.
Sorry, I muted myself intentionally because I
Okay.
really wanted to just hear you. So I'm going to make some like day-to-day connections. So there is I want to say a new movement, but it's not really a new movement. It's just becoming, I want to say, codified as like these hot topics. So these hot words of
Mm.
like the manifestation, I'll call it the manifestation ministry. And I'm going to
Oh,
say it like
very
that
nice.
with a little bit, well, I'm, hear me out. So I'm calling it the manifestation ministry with, and I may be stepping on some toes, but you know, you you listen or you don't. It's fine. With this emphasis of like if I think it, it's gonna happen. And I'm saying with some people who hear me will sit with saying with like a little bit of a like sarcastic overtone, because it it goes along with like sort of like if I build it, they will come.
Right. Okay.
I'm saying this now, like again in 2022, because whereas let's say for the past 30, 40 years, when from an entrepreneur's perspective, from like whatever the perspective is, just you thinking about it, some people are trying to like put a little like a pin in that balloon. Just you thinking about it, is it actually going to make it show up? Are you prepared for when it comes? And when it comes, are you going to recognize when it comes? When it actually shows up, are you going to know what to do with it? So there's a lot more to the if I think about it, it's going to come, or like this manifestation ministry. And I'm hearing a lot of people in whether it be self help, what's the other phrase? Alternative, holistic practices. There's more to just I'm going to think about it and it's going to show up on my doorstep.
Right.
So and that is connected to, of course, goal setting. It's connected to your intentionality. Like that's another big key word that's happening right now. What are your
Yes.
intentions? Setting your intentions. I'm always reminded of, and I know my mama's listening. Hey, mama. So I'm going to give you a shout out right now. So she would write or say to me, Jeremiah 29:11. No. Yes, I know the plans I have for you, right? Plans for you to prosper. And then another one was some people say Habakkuk, some people say Habakkuk, whatever. Habakkuk, what is it? 2:2, Habakkuk 2:2, which is write the vision to make it plain, right? But both of those are about planning and about intentionality and about
Mm.
goal setting, right? So, but when it comes to hypnosis, and this is where we're going to sort of get into like the part two about this, which some people are going to be like, wait, what happened? That I think there's a different level of self-talk. There's a different level of intentionality. There's a different level of process. There's a different level of like looking back or tapping in. So tapping into
Yes. Yes, I agree.
your own power, tapping into the power that has been gifted to you by God. Let's keep that
Yes.
on the table. Let's keep that on the table. And so, what I want to then shift into this conversation with you and have you, direct the next portion is when someone is receptive,
Mm.
right, to guided talk
Mm-hmm.
that walks them through moments of tapping into that power,
Yes.
shifting mindset. Like that's another big catchphrase right now, but shifting the mindset.
Mind hacks.
Okay, mind hacks. All right.
Yeah, they do that. That's another one.
Right. Oh, okay. And shifting those mind hacks or using whatever, however you're using it.
Hmm.
And then going to that next stage. And some people are like, oh, the next level. Realistically, some people are ready for the next level. They're not. They're not. They say they are, but they're not. So I want you to sort of walk through what happened over the last couple of days, and then I'll give my little feedback, but talk about imagery, talk about words, and talk about intentionality.
Well, I think it all begins with intentionality. It all begins with an idea of what you want. And in the case of what I was doing this last 7 days, it is a process of exercise motivation using hypnosis, a process that was created by Blink Fitness to look at the idea of combining going to the gym with hypnosis, marrying those two concepts together to create something called gymnosis. So everyone has a certain amount of weight, perhaps, that they want to shed. They want a certain amount of muscle. They want to have a certain amount of stamina. They want to have a certain amount of flexibility. They want to come to the gym a certain number of days a week. And that was what we focused on. We focused on having someone have the ideal body shape, the body weight, BMI, those kinds of things. And if they were coming one day a week, or if they were coming very sporadically, to have a more consistent level of attendance at the gym. So that was what I was there to do. And I was using those 6 core mental skills to help people to get to that point. So, as I said, hypnosis can be broken down into primarily 3 mental skills. Conscious relaxation gets you into the state of hypnosis. Then we combine visualization and positive self-talk to create guided imagery. So,
Okay, hold on one second. Hold on
yes,
one second.
please.
So my stream team, please forgive me. I forgot to say this. My stream team, if you are available, please type this into the chat, or I'll have to do it, and then I'll have to take myself put on myself on mute. So say it again. So conscious,
Okay, conscious relaxation,
CR.
visualization, and positive self-talk. Those are the core components of hypnosis.
Okay. And so now, before you get into what you did at Blink Fitness this week, you also work with people who are living a variety of lives and in a variety of states of being, right? And so let's say from life to life, right? Let's from
Mm-hmm.
life to life. So talk just sort of drop some of the types of conditions or stages of being. I'll say that
Okay.
stages of being that you work with and that you've had a lot of success, probably
Okay. Well,
success with.
speaking of states, I want to just talk about remote hypnosis. And that's what I was doing, in-person hypnosis at the gym in Park Slope this week. But primarily what I do is distance hypnosis or virtual hypnosis. So I live in a very small town upstate New York, and I've had clients in 30 different states and 11 different countries. So when you ask about the states that people are coming from, they're coming from many different physical states, but they're also dealing with many different physical and emotional challenges. Now, as a medical hypnotherapist, I work in collaboration with physicians, with dentists, with other practitioners to help people to supplement or complement what treatments they're getting from their primary medical provider. So hypnosis is a form of complementary medicine. I would say it is the most studied form of complementary medicine because it's been around since the inception of the United States. Hypnosis was something that was known to Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers. So hypnosis has been with us for a very, very long time, and hypnosis has been accepted by the American Medical Association since 1958. So it's something that is dyed in the wool in terms of the medical establishment. So I have the great honor to work with cancer survivors, breast cancer survivors, using the tools that I learned to help them to manage their emotions, help them to deal with the effects of the diagnosis itself, the shock, the fear, the overwhelm, but also to deal with the side effects of the treatment, because whether they're doing complementary treatment, holistic treatment, or whether they're doing conventional chemotherapy, radiation treatment, there are side effects. So being able to deal with nausea, being able to deal with vomiting, being able to deal with insomnia, being able to deal with pain, these are some of the side effects of various kinds of treatment that people are undergoing for various kinds of cancer. And so I help in that regard. But the three primary things that people who seek hypnotherapy are looking for are to stop smoking, to lose weight or manage their weight, and to manage their stress, reduce their stress. So those are the things that the phone rings most often for, because those are the things that people know that hypnosis can help with. So I'm an educator. Before I became a hypnotherapist, I was a teacher, and I still consider myself very much an educator. So what I come up against is a lot of misinformation and then a lot of no information. So people have misconceptions about hypnosis that I have to debunk. And you mentioned one of those when you started the show. You talked about barking like a dog, and there's that misconception that, because if you look at hypnosis purely from an entertainment context, then there are all kinds of silly things that people end up doing on a stage when entertainment is the focus of the hypnosis, as opposed to healing, growth, transformation, awakening, which is what I tend to focus on with my practice. So I have a couple of different areas that I've been able to study. I've studied pediatric hypnosis. I've studied hypnosis for cancer support. I've studied hypnosis for irritable bowel syndrome, for migraine headaches, for fibromyalgia, for insomnia, impotence, infertility. These are applications of hypnosis that most people are unaware of. And so when someone has, I watch television, and when I see all of the various medications that people are taking for all of these many, many conditions, the side effects are extraordinary. So many side effects that come along with taking the medication to deal with the individual issue that they're struggling with. And of course, there are no side effects to hypnosis. So that's one of the major selling points of what I do. And I've spoken at a lot of hospitals. I've spoken at Morehouse School of Medicine. I've spoken before the Dutchess County Dental Society. I've spoken before different nurses organizations. I've been the keynote speaker for different nurses organizations in my area. And what I'm doing is educating. What I'm doing is letting people know the different applications that are available to the trained hypnotherapist. I've been doing this 27 years, and I would not have felt comfortable working with cancer survivors after 1 year. It took time for me to feel comfortable doing that, and I was fortunate that I was able to apprentice to a trained master medical hypnotherapist, and I followed him around in the 90s, and I watched what he did, and I listened, and I learned, and I read, and it has made a big difference.
So, and I'm actually just trying to put certain information in the chat for those who are watching. Thank you so much. Those people who are watching, again, we're talking with Ajamu Ayinde, who is a licensed clinical hypnotherapist. I'm saying it right, correct?
Yes, clinical hypnotherapist.
Thank you. Licensed clinical hypnotherapist. And we're going to, if you're stay around just like another 3 minutes, you're going to actually hear a very interesting story, which is real and true. And so share this out. If you've ever thought about hypnotherapy, or you were like, what is that? What's going on? And am I going to quack like a duck, or am I going to bark like a dog? I really want you to hear some of the actual truth that comes from this, from personal experience. And so hint, hint, hint. So share this out. Or if you've had just questions, please drop the questions in the chat. And then I'm looking on the multiplicity of places that we are at, just to see where there might be some comments. So thank you so much for people that are asking questions. So Let me just put this one up. So you also said you work with birthing clients, cancer survivors, and what's the other big group? I just want to put that in.
Cancer survivors, childbirth, and sports performance. So
Right.
different athletes at different levels, especially master level athletes. But I wanted to hold something up for the watchers, for the participants. Malcolm X once said, if you want to hide something from Black people, all you have to do is put it in a book. And this is one of the books that I have that's well over 600 pages. This is another book, The Handbook of Medical and Psychological Hypnosis. You can just kind of get a sense of the size and the depth of this book. These are just a couple of books that I have on my shelf that I have read and used to study and prepare myself to be able to work with a variety of different medical conditions, autoimmune illnesses, immune illnesses related to the immune system. My mentor, Michael Elner, was someone who specialized in working with HIV and AIDS. And in the 90s, that was very big. And I used to go to support groups with him and watch what he did and the way that he supported his clients. I had my own fibromyalgia support group for 3 years in Dutchess County. It was the only support group for people with fibromyalgia for 2 counties. So it's something that is a need, because that's a condition that baffles doctors, and they really don't have a lot to offer to people with fibromyalgia. And it's a very painful, very life-disrupting condition.
I want to reiterate a statement that you made. The people who you have supported, and so let's just go through a couple of them, whether it be athletes, whether it be people who are giving birth, whether it be like I'm just thinking of the IBS or like fibromyalgia.
Mm-hmm.
The hypnotherapy is not eradicating the condition, but when you said people who are taking the medication and that are dealing with the shift in the body and the mind of how it is impacting their system, or they're dealing with just the condition itself, and they need someone to listen, but also
Yes.
someone to give them a strategy by which they can use on their own after they go through hypnotherapy.
Yes.
That they can use strategies for, some people may call it self-talk.
Yes.
I have actually become very fascinated over the past couple of months of people who offer, let me call them meditation exercises.
Mm-hmm.
Or and I'm going to speak about it from a biblical perspective. I make it clear I'm raised in a church. I still attend the same church, and I'm raised by a mama who would say, you need to learn these Bible verses, because when you don't have the Bible in your hand, you need to what? Come on with me. Hide the word in your heart, because you can be caught out there on certain days and you just need something to sort of remind you of what is going to keep you grounded, what is going to keep you at peace, what is going to keep you moving forward.
Absolutely.
Some of this work, a lot of this work actually is very aligned. It is very aligned. And so it actually crosses religion. It crosses demographics. You can sort of add your own little cultural mores within it, but that which is going to keep you at peace, keep you lifted, keep you moving forward while you are in the midst, I'm not preaching here, while you're in the midst of a storm, use it. Use it. Use it. Please use it. Thank you. Thank you, Mom. Okay. Mom finally said truth. Thank you. Good. So now take us through like what happened over the last couple of days.
Well, I just wanted to speak a little bit to what you were just saying. And I think that one of the metaphors that I've given to hypnosis is that of water. Hypnosis is a lot like water. It takes the form of the vessel that you put it into. Yes. So if someone is an entertainer or if someone's an entertainer or clown, they can use hypnosis and it can fit that context. If someone is a doctor or dentist, they can put hypnosis into that context, into that vessel, and it can be that. And if someone is a spiritual person, a person of God, a person of faith, then it can be put into that vessel and it can help people in that way. So when I was doing the work this last week at Blink Fitness, it was a secular context. And so I was using hypnosis to speak to the mind body connection, the brain body connection, the way that someone can see something and then be something. You know, if you can see it, you can be it. If you can conceive it, you can achieve it. And that mind body connection is something that's well researched and well understood among athletes and athletic people. However, I've won 3 awards in the field of hypnosis. And the first award I won in 2004 was for my work with cancer survivors. And it's impossible to work with anyone with a life threatening illness and not have spirituality enter into the equation, because people, they need support that goes beyond the mind and body.
Amen to
And
that.
I've done work with hospice and palliative care. I've spoken on platforms with all doctors and nurses, and I've been able to comfortably speak to the issues of spirituality. And my second award that I won was in 2012, and that was for helping athletes to combine their spiritual practice with their athletic practice, and seeing their run or seeing their weight training or seeing their archery or seeing their basketball as a vehicle for their love of God. And we see that in professional sports. We see people giving God the glory after they win a Super Bowl or after they win a boxing match. You know, we see them make the sign of the cross. We see them point upward. You know, it's very much a part of athletics around the world. There's an understanding that this is something that allows someone to have access to a wellspring of power within themselves that can only be described as spiritual. And if we're really honest about it, there's something beyond mind and body. But given a certain demographic, a certain context, one has to limit the things that they say to be palatable, to be in sync with what the audience sees, believes, and holds true. But if we're here in on the digital couch and we can speak openly about spirituality, there is a lot in hypnosis that can be applied spiritually. When someone is in a palliative care situation, when someone is in hospice care, there are things that we can do in hypnosis to help someone to have a communication, hypnotic communication, with someone who maybe has already passed on, someone who they have issues with, someone, their daughter, their son, their spouse. They need to say goodbye, and maybe that person is estranged from them, or maybe that person is no longer physically present. And one of the things that hypnosis can do is, when someone's in that altered state of mind, one can get closer to their concept of their higher power. One can come from a much more spiritual perspective, whole perspective, and be able to hopefully get a level of peace, clarity, understanding, that this expression, I think, is the peace that transcends. That's what people need when they're on their deathbed. That's what people need when they're dealing with a life-threatening illness. They need something more than what we have in our minds. We know our flesh is weak, the mind is strong, but there is something stronger.
I think that is beautiful. I really appreciate you saying, or you incorporating. Once you said palliative care, I I just had a moment. A number of people who have been through the experience of someone that they know their end is near,
Mm,
whatever the reason is, whether it be an accident and they are not able to come back from that, or whether it is an illness that is, a long-standing illness, no matter what denomination you are, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what religion you are, you know that there's a moment that you, if you are the caretaker or the parent or the spouse or the child, you know that there's a moment of you saying to that person or going through this conversation, who, even if the person is non-responsive, at that
Mm-hmm.
moment, there's a tender moment of, are you ready to go?
Right.
Is there something that you need to complete? If the
Absolutely.
person is communicative, you might ask that person, is there someone I need to go get for you?
Mm-hmm.
Is there someone I need to bring, right? If it's a family member, what do? We get on the phone. Listen, so and so, the time, come. When you hear that, just get here. Come. And people know what that means. They know that it may be the last time they need to see. And so, whatever words you got to give, whatever forgiveness you got to do, we all know across denomination, across spiritual paths, that somebody needs to be able to say, I love you the last time, or I'm
Yes.
sorry, or
Yes.
remember when, and it's not a big deal, or I'm done with it, or, whatever. So I'm really appreciative that you incorporated that. Um, and it's a tool, right? It's a tool,
Yes.
not the be all and end all. So I'm not, let me be clear, because I know my people's watching. Let me be clear. I'm not saying hypnotherapy over spirituality. I'm not saying
And I would never say that either.
right, right. It is a tool, because not everybody flows with particular religious practices. Not everybody flows with certain mind thought practices, but it is a tool that, and when you said an athlete, like, think about that, an athlete or an artist, or even,
Writer, musician.
right. And so, for those of you who've been on my show, if you've been the guest on my show, and don't say it, but everyone knows that I have a moment before I push the live button. I have a moment with myself, and my guests always see it. Some people say I'm doing mind talk. I literally play a song in my head that, quote unquote, gets my mind right.
Yes.
Because showing up is work.
Mm-hmm.
People who are athletes, it's work. Have you ever seen like a person who's going to run, when they get in the whatever you call it,
The zone.
the zone, right? And they're in that zone, and they're just like, I just
Focus.
want to be inside their head. Like, what are they saying to themselves?
Yes.
Right?
It is fascinating.
It's fascinating. And then you hear, let's say if it's a runner, like you hear the little clicker, the little gun go off, and you just see, like, you like, whoa, that's not the person we just, that's beautiful.
Transformation. It's a
It's
transformation that happened.
transformation. And it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So, anything else you want to say before we like pop the balloon?
Okay. Well, I wanna kind of chime in on something that you just talked about, just the transformative process of athletes. And there's a famous athlete named Roger Bannister who is known for breaking the 4-minute mile. And I want to kind of speak to that just for your audience sake, to just have them understand that the 4-minute mile, the barrier of running a mile in under 4 minutes, stood for thousands of years. And it was believed that it was humanly impossible for someone to run a mile in under 4 minutes. And then he chose not to believe that. And he was able to run a sub 4-minute mile. And inside of 6 months, all around the world, athletes began to do the very same thing. Once it was known that it
Wow.
was humanly possible, now you have high school level athletes. This was the 50s when this happened. And so he was one of the highest level athletes, Olympic level athletes of the time. And now high school level athletes, not Olympic level athletes, high school level athletes run sub 4-minute miles. So it's now become almost passe that to be able to do that. But that's sports psychology, that's hypnosis, that's mind games, that's mental training, whatever term we want to use. It's understanding what you, and this is where spirituality comes in, because spirituality is about possibility. It's about being able to see beyond what you can see. And that's what athletes are doing. They're going beyond, in many ways, what is known. Ali said, I am the greatest. So before you even are the greatest, you perceive yourself as the greatest. And then you do the things that go along with being the very greatest.
Just remembering Muhammad Ali and how his, let's just say, self-talk,
Mm-hmm.
um, how that catapulted him through his work, through his service, through his mastery on the court, right? Nobody could touch him. And the more he said it, the more people like, well, wait, he is the greatest. Same with the 4 minute mile.
Yes.
So let's now shift because we have a couple minutes left. Let's shift and so what I'm doing now is I'm actually, for those of you who are watching, please, on wherever you see it, watch this video that I just dropped. Watch the video that I just dropped. So now we're ready for, like, here's the pin in the balloon. Go.
Okay.
Tell me what happened.
What am I saying now?
What happened over the past couple of days? What?
Okay, so what happened yesterday is we were able to have a hypnosis session as part of the Blink Fitness Gymnosis seminar, and you were able to experience hypnosis with me and go into a very deep place, I believe, and experience some of the suggestions that I offered that were geared toward helping you to have a different kind of relationship with exercise, a better relationship with that.
So yes, that is true. So I allowed, and what's the phrase that we're using? I allowed.
You allowed yourself to become receptive to suggestions.
There we go. I allowed myself to become to be. I sorry. Wait, I can't even say that. I allowed myself to be receptive to suggestions. So oh, okay. Thank you. I'm trying to read what you wrote, Mom. So I actually just dropped a link in. I'm trying to drop it in all places in where I recorded myself while he was going through the suggestions for hypnosis. Now, I have to say that this was not the first time. I think maybe it's the second time. And maybe it's the third. It's either the second or the third. And so I wanted to see what it was like. I wanted to experience it. And I have to say that intentionally, I was conscientious enough that I was like, I'm not. And I was saying it in a funny way, but I'm like, I'm not going down. Like, I'm going to be awake. I want to be totally connected. I want to hear everything. I'm going to, in essence, I want to be fully present. I heard most of the conversation, and he's like, you're going to hear everything. You're going to hear and be able to, in essence, like, be responsive to everything that I'm saying. I have to tell you, I just remember hearing the first couple of things. I remember hearing one of the statements about the guided imagery. And then I must have heard 2 or 3 or 4 things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know there was a moment that I was like, I wasn't connected. Let's just say I wasn't connected. And so I recorded myself, because then when I felt reconnected, I was like, wow, that was, at one point I said that was a short amount of time. But then another point I felt like, wait a minute, that felt like really long.
Time distortion. That's one of the aspects of hypnosis. Time takes on a different meaning. It can become very short, or it can seem very long, depending on how you're experiencing it.
Right. And so when I was, let's say, fully present, I'll use that phrase, fully present, and let's say it was over, there were 2 things that I was very, very conscious of. One thing was, and this just happens to be because I sit for a long time doing a lot of work. So, and I remember saying it. So if you watch the video, now I have to tell you, the video is about 50 minutes, because like 52 minutes specifically. I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. Did I like nod? Like, was I like sleeping? Like, Hopefully I wasn't drooling or anything. Like that's just a real thing. Cause I was like, my goodness, I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired. Why am I yawning so much? So if you watch the video and it's the link is in the chat on one of my pages, I'm gonna put the link in the other one as well. I was like, my goodness, I feel so exhausted. And so he was asking me, like, what do you remember? And I told him some of the things that I remembered. And what was so interesting is that I literally sat in the same position. So just think of like the ancient kings in Kemet, in Africa and in Egypt, and how the kings or kings and queens are sitting with their hands on their thighs, like on their and resting. And I was sitting up straight, and I was just like, my goodness, I'm so exhausted. You sure I didn't nod my head? I had to look back at the video just to make sure I didn't like nod off, because I really thought that I did. I know that I was listening. I know that I heard most of the conversation, but when I looked back at the video, I recognized that some of the things that was said, I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember you saying that. But I felt, let me just say it, I will say this 1,000 times. I felt 100% comfortable.
Mm.
I trust this brother right here dearly. I was comfortable enough that anything, because I've said this, I'm like, anything that I say, if it sounds weird, like stop tape, like stop rolling the tape, like we're not doing this. But I felt very comfortable. I felt very confident, and I trusted him dearly to the suggestions or the guided imagery that was presented. I was like, I don't fear this moment. I'm
Right.
very
And that's really clear, because the question of control comes up. Everyone who wants to be hypnotized can be hypnotized as long as you have sufficient motivation, and you're not going to be made to do something against your morals and values. So for example, I know that you're a vegetarian, so I couldn't hypnotize you yesterday to start eating hot dogs and hamburgers all of a sudden, because that's not part of your worldview. That's not how you get down. So it's important for people to know that. It's important, because sometimes people think, well, I'm going to have my will subverted. And that's not how hypnosis works. That's not how hypnotherapy works.
Right. So I do want to, and thank you so much. So I actually see a number of my family members on not family, but like spiritual family, biological family, community family, cultural family watching. And I'm very, very thankful. Thanks so much for watching. And you could share this out if you feel like it, or if you just take the link and drop it somewhere, you could do that as well. Let me post the actual video on my other page. There we go. So thank you. Oh, great. I'm so glad you guys are watching. So here's the other thing that I'm happy to share openly. And if you watch the video, and you can literally just sort of scroll through it, because again, it's 50 minutes. You don't have to watch the whole thing. But I was amazed that I was actually able to sit there with my head straight. Like I literally thought that I fell asleep, and like my head was bobbing to the side, but it did not do that. But I remember some of this is like
you were in a focused state of attention. That's where you were.
Focused state of attention.
A focused state of attention. That is the best way that I've come up with to describe what hypnosis is like. So if you think in terms of a daydream, this is a directed daydream. This is a way that you can focus your attention inwardly for a specific purpose. It's now that you have the right mindset to be where it is that you ultimately want to be. You can experience, it's almost like a coming attractions. You can go to a place in your head in the future of yourself having achieved a certain outcome. So whether we're talking exercise in this context, so being at that point where you've lost the 30 pounds, being at that point where you've been able to run the half marathon, being at that point where you've been able to go to the gym 3 times a week consistently for 6 months. So you can go into your future in your head and experience in advance. But you could also apply this to academics. You could also apply this to many other areas of your life. If you have a fear of parenting, if you have a fear of marriage, if you have a fear of a job that you're going to be stepping into, promotion, you can go in your head, you can mentally rehearse that new position that you're going to be occupying, and you can see how it's not so scary. It's not so bad. It's not so hard. It's not outside of your realm of possibility to do it. But you have to see yourself doing it. Because if you can't see yourself doing X, then you're not going to make the effort to attempt X. So
Right.
it all begins in the mind. It all begins in the spirit.
So I'm going to just throw in a little quip phrase that and I'm not taking away from the glory of this moment, but we in our community, we say, where the mind goes, the behind will follow.
That makes sense to me.
Right. And if you think about it a lot, right, focused state of attention, there's a high propensity that you're probably going to do it.
Yes.
High propensity, high probability, excuse me, high probability. And so let me just focus on academics for a moment. So those who are, I'm saying this in love, educators, that's because we're in the school season. So I'm going to say educators. Those who are educators, we do, especially over the past couple of years, let's say 4 or 5 years, there's been an increased focus on what is codified as SEL. SEL, someone type that in, SEL, which is social and emotional learning. And with that, there has been this like mind work, brain power, sort of metacognition, the thinking about the thinking. And uh, we have even gotten to the point of students sitting in lotus position, right?
Yes.
Starting like in pre-K and kindergarten. And I've seen children, now again, from a religious perspective, and I'm shouting out, I'm a Christian, that when I saw these little like 4 and 5-year-olds sitting again in the lotus position, or what we call like pretzel, but with their hands like this, from a Christian perspective, I'm like, look at this here. Look at this here. Now I know my mother is sitting there feisty right now. She's like, that's right. They took prayer out of schools and look what they bringing in. Thank you so much, my stream team, for putting in SEL and social and emotional learning. So I was just like, my goodness, like how far have we come? But I will say that there has been on the upside, let's say that there has been a more attention to what the mind can do. And so what's the other thing? A growth mindset and a fixed mindset, right? There's a whole book about growth mindset. And so it is akin, right? It's akin to this work. It's akin to mind over matter. Ooh, someone dropped that in the chat. Someone dropped that in the chat for me. I'm gonna come up with these. Like now, I'm gonna be on a roll. Mind over matter, and I'm just. It doesn't have to be the full guided meditation. It doesn't have to be the full. Thank you so much. Right? It doesn't have to be the full. Like you going under hypnosis. But let me tell you, they are making time in schools. I'm sorry, Lord, help me. They are making, because I'm leaning in, they're making time in schools for children to like find a mat, lay in, do yoga.
Can I chime in on this for a moment?
One second. Yes, and I'll just finish the statement. To like do yoga and to have this, I'm going to say Eastern, and this definitely means that we're going to have a different, like another whole hour on another day. But this using Eastern practices in order to help people find relaxation moments, or to do brain breaks, or to find, like, do goal setting, right? Intentional work, whatever the codified phrases are. This is my last statement. And I'm going to go back to what I said in the beginning. Because some people within and I'll say the Christian world specifically will say, oh my gosh, like, look at what they're doing. And, they're bringing all this in. I'm going to say it in love. If we in the Christian sphere have something that is akin, that can get the job done, that doesn't, I want to say that doesn't marginalize. I think that's probably the best word. That doesn't marginalize or put people in a box. Like, if you belong to this group, then you can do this and then you'll be well. Then let's explore. I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I'm also not saying let everything in, because then, things get muddled and things get gray. But then let's find something that is within our own practice that we can use to do the work. That is my statement.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I wanted to share something with you. We are contemporaries in terms of the education that we graduated around the same time. So when I was doing my student
Wait,
teaching in
hold on.
1990,
Hold on. Shout out Connecticut.
yeah,
Shout
shout
out
out to Trinity
Connecticut.
College, Hartford,
He's
Connecticut.
he's
Go
Trinity.
Bantams.
I'm Con College. Go Camels. All right, we just had to do that Connecticut shout out.
Yes,
Okay, go ahead.
absolutely. So when I was doing my student teaching, I was taking classes in multicultural education, and at that time there still was a Soviet Union, and they were doing hypnosis in the classroom in the Soviet Union for accelerated learning, and they were doing hypnosis in the classroom in Japan. So from a multicultural perspective, I was learning in like 89, 90 in that era. Already hypnosis was something that was seen. The astronauts, the American astronauts who were needing to learn certain skills in a short period of time, they were turning to hypnosis to help them to accelerate their process of learning, whether it was a foreign language or whether it was some other kind of skill. So I think that hypnosis does have a place in the classroom, and it doesn't have to be uh, Eastern necessarily. It can be universal.
So, and I'm really, really thankful that other people are popping on. Thank you so much. So, if you sort of are just popping on, where I'm speaking to Ajamu Ayinde. This is my brother. This is my friend, a dear heart to me. I've known him since, oh my gosh, do we even go back that far? 90,
90, 92, 91, 92, around that time.
92, 92. Actually, just the tiny backdrop, we both worked in independent schools. He's from the BX. He's from the Bronx. He's from the Boogie Down, and so we have a really really long standing connection, and so it's a good connection. And he's a licensed clinical hypnotherapist, and I allowed myself to be receptive to suggestions,
For
aka
relaxation, yes.
relaxation, and be hypnotized for those for the short version. And so I actually dropped the actual recording of me in that moment, which happened yesterday. In the chat, it's on my Seeds of Imani page, actually, my Seeds of Imani YouTube channel, because it's health related, health and wellness related, not Learn to Grow You. But I'll probably drop it there as well. And I just wanted to share that with you. So it's an amazing. And then so there's two videos. I'm actually the first one I just put up, which is the actual hypnosis. But then the second one is the debriefing. Like literally, as soon as I became more, back to myself in essence, I sort of stopped the tape. But what I really should have done is actually just let the tape roll, because as soon as I finished, she said, "Okay, so I'd like feedback," and I was like, "You mean I got to talk about what I remembered?" So there's 10 minutes of my like feedback. But I was so amazed. I really thought that I was asleep. So you're going to see in the second video, it wasn't very late at night, but I was yawning considerably because I thought I was asleep for a long time.
Can
So
I speak to that for a moment?
please do. I was so embarrassed. I'm like, why
There
am I
there
yawning?
there there are different brainwave cycles. So when we're fully alert, we're in a beta wave brain set,
Okay.
and the brain waves move very quickly.
Mhm.
Then when we're asleep, when we're in delta, the brain waves move very slowly. And when
Oh,
we're in the in-between state, which is a state of hypnosis, that's called alpha, and the brain waves move in a kind of medium speed. So what happened, I believe, is you went from a full alert state to a more relaxed state, and you went into a deeper end of the ocean, so to speak. So you move
woo.
as close as you can get to sleep without being asleep. So your brain waves were moving at a cycle very similar to the cycle that you have when you're just about to go to sleep. So hypnosis is a state in between wakefulness and the sleep state. So if you look at a continuum, you were on that continuum and you were closer to sleep, much closer to sleep than you were to being awake. And then you came back to the alert state. But you can't just, quote, snap your fingers and immediately go back to the full alert state. You have to kind of travel through that interim state. And you were moving, again, your brain waves were moving extremely slowly. And that's why you were probably yawning.
Okay, so now this is going to get real personal. So only those people who have been to either, I don't want to give this away, but it happens. I'm so sorry. It happens. So if you sat, I'll just give the clue, and those people who know, you know what I'm talking about. If you have sat next to me in a space where where we were in, let's just say a large group, and there's one person talking, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm,
And those people have had to either send me a text or like nudge me or like poke me, like, Doriel, wake up, Doriel, wake up. And I'm like, I'm not sleeping. I actually heard every single thing that the person said. They're like, but you're nodding. I am? I'm
mm,
like, oh, snap. If you watch this video, I did not nod. I was amazed. I literally just watched it. And if you watch it on YouTube, you can kind of like scroll really fast to like see with like almost 15 seconds, the whole 50 minutes. I didn't nod just once. I literally was sitting like this. I was so amazed. And I remember hearing, so here's just the last thing for those of you who are still on. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for all these people watching. So I'm talking about how I went to, can you please tell me the phrase again?
a
I was
focused
just
state of attention.
focus FSA. I just have to like give myself little acronyms here. An
Yes.
FSA, a focused state of attention, aka hypnosis. And let me say this: I strongly suggest it. I strongly suggest it. Have the experience. Have the experience though with someone, of course, that you trust. This guy right here. This guy right here. He. You don't have to be in the same space as him. As a matter of fact, it'd be better if you don't. Just because you can be in a safe space, be in your house. Thank you so much, my stream team. Thank you. He can do it virtually, which is fabulous. And I actually have to say, I had this one live, which is yesterday, and then I had one virtually. And so literally the same thing. I was like sitting in my chair. He said he gives these, directions, and then you just sit there and you're listening. I want to say this: there will be things that he says. You're not speaking. There are things that are said. And in essence, he's taking you on journeys. He's taking you on journeys of things that you already remember, things that he doesn't know you. I mean, he happens to know me, but he doesn't necessarily know you. But there are things that, let's just say, make us smile. He taps into that and he gets.
Elements that may be present. So for example, if you love nature, which I do,
Mhm.
and you go into a garden setting, the things that you might have in your garden can be something that makes you smile. So if
Right.
you think about the plants, the herbs, the flowers, the trees,
Don't give it
getting
away.
to
Now I'm having a flashback. Oh my gosh. But like that's some of the stuff. But then the opposite occurs, right? And so he'll have the conversation because I don't want you to give too much away.
okay.
The things that when I say it, people are gonna be like, "Oh, I've heard that before." Mm-mm. The things that are holding you back, he's actually just gonna connect it to an image that we all can relate to. Doesn't matter what walk of life you are from.
Mm,
And when he says it in your mind, you're like, "Oh, wow! Like, how did he know that?" But y'all know it's the same thing as somebody who, let's just say, y'all put two and two together, stands in a specific spot in a specific room and talks to a large group of people. It is very, very similar. They don't know you, but they
mm,
know that these are things that happen in most people's lives.
yes.
And
Yes.
so just the image of that thing, you're like, oh man, you know what? Yeah, I've been walking around with that for a long time. Let me put that thing down. And then so there's moments of movement. There's phrases or suggestions of movement. There's suggestions of peaceful things. There's suggestive phrases of, and I have to close my eyes because I'm literally going back to the moment that I'm hearing him say this. Things that are peaceful, and then there are things that are like, okay, so now you're like at the door, right? And you have to go through the door. He didn't say that, but this is what I'm like rephrasing. How are you going to get through the door? Are you going to use your mind? Are you going to find the key? What's the key? I did not look at your notes, but I just think these are one of those things that you would say.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, what's on the other side of the door? Do you know what's on the other side of the door? Can you turn the light? Do you know where the light switch is? Like illumination, like being ready, being aware. And when I said that, I was like, this is deep. This is amazing. And I heard again most of what he said. If you watch the video, you're going to see like halfway through, maybe like minute 40 or so, you'll see that I if you can look at my hands and look at how I'm breathing. Okay, I'm going to read that. And look at how I'm breathing. You can sort of tell I wasn't, I was in that almost BAD, Delta. Who in the world? So,
Yes.
anyway, when I'm going to just end or pause for a second, you can keep talking. I just have to go step to do something.
Okay.
Um, the work that he does is amazing. It is, yes, it is transformative, and it is giving a tool. It is giving a tool that can be helpful to you. So you sort of keep chatting for a second.
Okay.
I'm gonna be right there.
All right. So speaking of kind of picking up where you left off, healing is an important part of what I do. And all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So it's important for everyone to realize that I don't have any special powers. I am only a hypnotherapist. And so I can only offer suggestions. So the suggestions are geared to be acceptable to you so that you can take them on. So if I were to ask you your favorite color and you said your favorite color was blue, and then by accident I began to describe a scenario that was green, you could change the color from green to blue because that is your color, that is your favorite color in this context. So it's very important for people to know that hypnosis is something that is very user friendly. It's not top down. I see it as a collaborative process. If you've ever gone on vacation and you've had a tour guide, someone who knew where the best sunsets could be found, or someone who knew where the most beautiful waterfall might be, that's more or less what I am. I'm a tour guide of the mind. I'm taking you to places in your own imagination, things that you have seen before, things that you've read about before, things that you have imagined before. We're going and we're exploring those things together. And so I'm offering an idea. Well, perhaps this is there. Perhaps that is there. Maybe you're hearing birds singing. Maybe you're hearing insects chirping, but maybe not. You might not be hearing those things. You may be hearing the sound of your footfalls, and that's what's most real to you. So it's very vague in a certain sort of way, and it's very respectful to everyone's own individual experience. And I want everyone to have their own individual experience. It's not my journey, it is your journey that I'm guiding you on for the purpose of healing, for the purpose of growth, and for the purpose of transformation. We want people to wake up. Hypnosis is not, for me, putting someone to sleep. Hypnosis is about helping people to wake up from the trance or the mindset that they are living that is limiting them. So we can wake up from the trance that we have been hypnotized into by society. Society at large doesn't necessarily empower people to be their very best selves. So we want to break out of that. Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. How many of us know someone, maybe intimately, who's living in a form of mental slavery? And if we can employ a tool, and again, I say hypnosis is a tool. It takes the form of the vessel that you are using. So you can use hypnosis as a person of faith. You can use hypnosis as a person of no faith. It is a universal tool that you can then employ to free your mind. Free your mind to think more broadly, to think more as a possibility thinker. When I guide people into hypnosis, I say, once we've gone through the different stages, so when I was working with Doriel, we went through 4 stages to get to a state of hypnosis. And I said, well, now you're in a state of power and possibility. Power and possibility is where I want everyone to live, in a state of, yes, I am powerful, I am mighty, and yet I see possibilities everywhere, 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 that might be entrepreneurial possibilities, maybe academic possibilities.
Wait, did you say that last night?
I did.
Oh, snap. I just remember that. But I didn't remember it last night.
Right.
Oh, snap. See, I'm telling you, there was time, there was moments that I was like, okay, I hear everything. I heard the bridge, I heard the colors, I heard the flowers, like I heard all that, those things. But that
Hmm.
whole, I think I'm like remembering that now.
Well, think about it like a dream. If, for example,
That's what it
you have a
was.
dream, you remember certain elements of the dream, but there's no one to really prompt you. No one was there with you, so no one can say, "Oh, well, remember when that
Right,
happened?"
right.
You don't get access to that. But sometimes I believe deja vu is
Ooh.
where we are reminded of things that we've dreamt before. That's my take
Mm.
on it. That we see a movie or we go into a room and we feel a sense of, I've been here before. I believe perhaps that it's because we went there in a dream and we've forgotten, because we tend to forget our dreams as we wake up.
I know. And listen, I can't keep a pad next to me long, big enough to write down all the stuff that pops into my head in the middle of the night.
Mm,
So listen, I'm actually just gonna read this one comment that came through. So hey, Mr. Mazursky, so glad that you popped in. So I'm actually just gonna read your comment because I think if I put it up on the screen, it's gonna be too long. Or it's gonna take let me see. So it might take up the whole screen. Let me just see. Okay, there we go. So this is a teacher, a teacher that I taught with for a while back. He goes, my entire positation is combined self-hypnosis with music that was taught to me by Kreskin, who taught the astronauts, the IMs. He had this a wonderful mantra that we said all the time, especially before test taking. The I am smart was based on God's universal name, I am that I am, from Moses and the burning bush. I taught this breathing technique to your students. Yes, he did. I put the students in alpha and then into theta, which is focused and energetic. I must talk to this gentleman because I taught this to your students at PS 315, Shadow 315, and I'll send you my updated musical meditation. Thank you, Mr. Mazursky. I appreciate you. So listen, I know that
absolutely.
yeah, so we are actually sort of over our intended time, but it's all good. It's all fabulous, and there are still a lot of people who are watching. So I'm really proud of that. I'm really thankful. I would love for people. My total intent of this channel, of this show, is to connect y'all to people that I meet along the way, and I really believe that you should have them as another person, like in your digital Rolodex, for reference, for information, for services if they provide services, or for products if they provide products. Call me like the commercial person. I don't know what that really means, but y'all know what I do. So this is a really, really great brother. He has done phenomenal work, and he's worked with a number of really, really great people, and people in a variety of, again, states of being. And if you can utilize a tool that will support the alleviation of the thing that you are going through at the time,
Yes,
give it a try.
absolutely.
Have a go. Have a go.
And and
Allow
and
yourself to experience it. It's really it's it's an additional tool that you can even use. So yes, will I use some of the information that I can remember? Actually, all I have to do now is just watch the video. But what you will see is that was, I guess, like one, what do you call it? Like one
one session.
one session, right? One session, but it was one, like I want to say one script, because
Yes,
you have others. You have,
yes,
okay,
many.
right? You have many. So it was one. I'll call it a journey,
Yes,
right?
yes.
One journey, and there are others. So just have a go. Have a go. It's very, very interesting. And again, like, will I be using some of, again, like the tools like crossing a bridge and colors and flowers? Yes. I'm literally gonna rewatch the video on my way, like as I'm like doing some food prep. Um, but just to say, okay, how did I feel at that moment? Now, I literally told him before we got on this, I said, you know what? I woke up this morning and I was like, wait a minute. Was my intention that I wanted to go to the gym? It really wasn't. I was going to the gym. Let me just be frank. I am not going to the gym. I don't, another conversation. I don't really like the gym. I'll do movement, but I don't like the gym. But did I feel like I have an additional reconnection to doing better for myself? Yes. So right
Mm-hmm.
before we hopped on, what was I doing? My meditation moment, some of you know what this is, especially if you're in claw squad, is working with raw food. It is juicing. It is making green salads. It is that have very, very different like greens in it that most people don't consume. It is making smoothies. It is food prep. Anything that has to do with raw food or greens or, fruits and vegetables is just, there's no music playing. I try not to talk to people while I'm doing it. I don't even want my children when they were here in the kitchen. Like, just let me do that. Let me have that. It's like people being working in a garden. I was explaining to Ajamu, like, males or females working in a garden or working the farm. It's like men or women, who take care of their car, people who that's like their ritual, that's their practice, that's their moment that they're just like they work and they're diligently focused on that, and utilize another tool that can shift your thinking or have you have that. Some people are now calling it self-care or me time or what have you. It's just a really, really interesting experience. Of course, do it with someone who you totally feel safe with and who you feel comfortable with. And it can be virtual or it can be in person. So I just wanted to bring him and his skills and his talent and ability and passion for the awakening. Again, you don't have to be like in a birthing space. You don't have to be an athlete. Um, Thank you so much. Yes. Okay. I'm going to put this. Can I do that? I think I can. Got it. I'm putting his link here, boom. Wait, let me look at the other one and just be in conversation. Wait, hold on.
Add me on Facebook. I'd love to continue the conversation.
Yes. And you have a group. Ajamu, do me a favor, just type that again and put the W and a period. Actually, I can do it. So just, follow the brother. Great, great opportunities to just connect and to talk. Let me just do it.
Okay.
Ajamu. Got it. Dad. Yes, dad in his car. Ajamu.
Which one do I need to reach out?
I got it. It's ajamuayinde.com or .net. Uh-oh. .com. Got it. We got it. .com. There we go. So that's his contact information. So it is awakenedbirth.net, awakenedbirth.net. And it is also ajamuayinde.com. Let me show it up here. There we go. Awakenedbirth.net and ajamuayinde.com. Awakenedbirth.net and ajamuayinde.com. If you look, literally, I put all of his contact information, I believe, in the link in the description of the video. Thank you so much for coming this evening. We have actually another amazing person coming next week, so I look forward to, got it. I'm going to pull that one as well. And the brother is also on Instagram. Let's pop that in.
I'm old school, so I'm on LinkedIn too. You can find me on LinkedIn.
Woo, brother, LinkedIn. Yes. We're working on getting his social media game up to speed. So actually, no, but you were actually working with people on Skype.
Yes.
How
go back to 2012, yeah.
Right. So yeah, this is like 10 years ago. 10 years ago, he was actually doing his work on Skype. Who still has Skype? But that's the old Zoom. Come on, don't be shocked. Don't be like you don't know what Skype is about. Mm-hmm. So again, thank you so much. Peace and blessings. This is a Learn to Grow You moment where I plant seeds to help you grow. I'm so blessed and honored and highly favored to have my brother Ajamu Ayinde to speak to you about hypnosis and hypnotherapy and how it can be a blessing to people who are at, again, a variety of states of health and states of being. Mm-hmm. Add it as a tool chest to your self-care and your wellness protocols. So this is going to count triple. I really should have made it count for another thing, but I'll do that at another time. So this is a Learn to Grow You moment where I plant seeds to help you grow. My name is Doriel Inez Larrier, and my mama is watching. Shout out, mama. And I will see you all in the next session. Please look out for the notifications. And if you have any questions or comments, or you want to share this and ask other questions, Ajamu and I will also be following the chat, and so we can follow up with those questions or comments. But also, please just go directly and join him on either Instagram, Ajamu Hypnotherapist on Instagram, awakenbirth.net is his website, and ajamuayinde.com. Peace and blessings. I'll see you on the next go round.
Peace and blessings, everybody.